most unlikable candidate in the history of presidents, and that's saying a lot.
But Biden says the same thing.
He's number 2. When Biden says something, does anyone be like, oh?
Right.
No, they used to go, oh, what did he say?
Yeah. Something is happening in America. You can feel it. Something we've worked for and dreamed of for a long time. Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial, and when he woke up, he made his own kind of history. The first person to run for president with 34 felonies.
Tyrus drops shocking revelations as casually as if he's listing groceries, while Hillary Clinton paces with the fury of a storm about to break. And those so-called secrets? They're murkier than sneakers after a muddy playground run. The outbursts that follow could rival fireworks on the 4th of July. You might wonder, what could possibly be so over the top that it pushed her this far? The truth is, Hillary's reaction could practically power a small town. This meltdown doesn't just brush politics with chaos, it makes the whole scene look like a never-ending soap opera. So tighten your seatbelt, because this is only the beginning.
You know, Tyrus, and this goes back to 2016, people were reluctant to talk to pollsters and say, I like Donald Trump. And now, fast forward 8 years later, essentially they're saying, if you like him, you're in a cult. Do you really want to be in a cult?
If the cult that Hillary doesn't like, yeah.
Hillary Clinton was expected to spend her post-political years basking in the spotlight, offering polished commentary on talk shows and soaking in applause like a stage veteran. But then Tyrus storms onto the scene, dropping revelations so strange and unexpected, they sound like they were pulled straight out of a hidden government vault.
Is it a red hat? I'll get one. Like, it's ridiculous that when the losing side, or someone, she's just a very unlikable person and will say anything to get this attention. But here's the thing, it's changed. America has changed. We no longer listen to that stuff. Now when they say it, we go, that's why I didn't vote for you.
The woman who has weathered decades of Washington's fiercest scandals suddenly erupts as if her teleprompter had short-circuited mid-speech. Let's be honest, Hillary wouldn't lose her composure over a senator. It wasn't sparked by a foreign rival, and it certainly wasn't caused by a room of polite journalists tossing questions her way. No, the spark came from Tyrus, a figure who looks like he was engineered in a WWE workshop and unleashed on television as a walking truth bomb. He usually sidesteps drama, but when he speaks, it hits like a punch to the gut.
Hillary Clinton is one of the most disgusting human beings on the planet.
Very much so.
Always has been, always will be, and will be inserting clips on her response to Benghazi several times throughout the interview. I want to show who she is.
She's worse than her husband.
A lot of people say that this was triggered by a YouTube video. This is her statement. I condemn in the strongest terms the attack on our mission in Benghazi today. The United States deplores any intentional effort to denigrate the religious beliefs of others. Our commitment to religious tolerance goes back to the very beginning.
Tyrus decides today's the day to let a few shadows slip into the light. And let's be clear, politicians never guard harmless little secrets. No, the ones they bury are the kind that turn reputations into handle with care material, reeking worse than gym socks left out after a sweltering 4th of July cookout.
Every time she talks, you kind of get why Bill did what he did. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, it's kind of like, again, I don't condone, cheating, but
no,
that's your morning.
Yeah.
You gotta kiss that before you go to bed at night, and then you gotta sleep with one eye open.
Yeah.
Hillary doesn't respond with calm diplomacy. Forget a polite nod or an icy stare. What you get are fireworks. The kind of blast that makes you wonder if someone spiked her morning coffee with jet fuel. That's the effect Tyrus has always carried. He doesn't just highlight the truth, he detonates it.
No, your buddy Epstein didn't off himself, and she has all this extra footage cut up in the closet. Like, I bet Bill has not had a good night's sleep for years. I mean, that's why he aged so badly. A lot of people don't know this. Bill Clinton is only 37 years old.
Tyrus treats debates the way a wrestler treats storylines, packing them with drama, thunderous flair, and just enough showmanship to keep audiences glued to their screens. So when he digs into Hillary's past, the aim isn't just to expose a questionable chapter, it's to stage a spectacle so over the top that cable news looks like a puppet show in comparison. But Hillary can't hold the mask anymore. She spent her career carefully scripting every move, crafting speeches, staging interviews, and staying 5 steps ahead, like a grandmaster in political chess. Tyrus, on the other hand, thrives on chaos. He'd rather rip the curtain wide open and watch the fallout than strategically dismantle an empire. So when those unsettling revelations hit, Hillary went full nuclear. Picture her shouting, pacing, and gesturing wildly as if she were both the star and the director of her own political soap opera.
She's just evil. Like, there's nothing like her.
Why would she even tweet that? Like, don't you have
I think she just sits around in her evil lair. Whenever she runs out of Eye of Newt and Small Children to Boil, she then goes to X and just says whatever the most evilest thing. I think if the devil himself showed up, like, you'll never hear her being possessed by a demon. You know what I'm saying? The demon will walk in and the demon will be calling Dr. Phil. You don't believe the that I just saw, bro. Like.
So what exactly did Tyrus put out there? Let's just say these weren't the kind of tales you'd whisper before bedtime. His revelations weren't harmless rumors you brush aside over coffee. No, these were the sort of buried truths that drag old feuds back into the spotlight, polish them off, and shove them under the brightest glare imaginable. Ghosts of past battles didn't stay in the background. They marched front and center like an unscheduled parade. And with Hillary, there's enough controversy to fill an entire Netflix anthology. That's the kind of unpredictability her allies dread. Because when someone goes off script, there's no blueprint for a counterstrike. The real story here isn't just the content of those secrets, it's Hillary's eruption. The spotlight shifts from the truth itself to her frantic struggle to slam the door shut, making her reaction the headline rather than the revelation.
It's the catfish. Well, they wanted us to believe it was a big naughty redhead that was going around, was going to ruin the world and do all kinds of bad things to us. Turns out the catfish was... Hey, we don't boo here. But for this one time, you may boo.
Right. Some insist Hillary's outburst proves she's guilty of everything from political missteps to hiding Jimmy Hoffa. Others argue Tyrus is nothing more than a sideshow barker tossing dirt just to grab the spotlight. But in the end, the spectacle itself wins. In 2025, political blowups aren't just news, they're entertainment. Hillary, who has stood through endless investigations and every insult in the book, usually wears her practiced smile on stage, and yet when a commentator known for rattling cages shows up, that smile cracks and she erupts like a pressure cooker. That moment tells you everything you need to know about this ruthless game of psychological chess.
Hey, look, if the pantsuit fits, Hillary Clinton, you owe Russia an apology. And there should be an apology tour for lying to the American people and ruining 2 years of Trump's presidency and affecting elections with Russiagate, impeachment, and fake dossiers. Oh yeah, let's not forget the P-tape.
Hillary's outburst was proof enough that the revelation struck a nerve. And once people believe you've been rattled, half the battle is already lost. Tyrus knows this playbook inside out. He doesn't need charts, documents, or long speeches. All it takes is a sly grin, a well-timed revelation, and then letting Hillary push the drama into overdrive herself. It's the oldest strategy there is: poke the bear and let the bear write tomorrow's headlines. Judging by the coverage, the tactic worked even better than he expected. You'd think Hillary, after decades of experience, would have perfected the art of brushing things off shrug, call it nonsense, and move on. But her eruption proved that even the most seasoned players slip. The final act came when she scrambled to spin, reframe, and pretend she had never been shaken at all. But by then, the damage was done. Online, it was already branded the biggest meltdown of the year. And Tyrus, he was already setting up his next round of chaos.
I want you to remember what Donald Trump said about Hillary Clinton back in the 2016 debate.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
It's like, yeah, because you'd be going to jail, lady.
Hillary's outburst wasn't just a reaction, it was a full-blown performance. Watching it unfold, you'd almost think she had been rehearsing behind closed doors for years. Her arms flew, her voice climbed, and instead of a simple disagreement, she unleashed the kind of pent-up frustration that only needed Tyrus to press the launch button. It felt less like politics and more like watching a Shakespearean tragedy collide with a WWE promo, complete with an invisible soundtrack only she seemed to hear. The problem? Subtlety has never been Hillary's strong suit. She tries, of course, leaning into the microphone with that courtroom drama delivery and flashing the practiced politician's smile. But when someone like Tyrus drops his bombs, all the Polish melts faster than ice cream on a July sidewalk. Her eruption wasn't really about the revelations themselves. It was about exposing the cracks in the Clinton myth, showing that the aura of control and untouchability was always one secret away from shattering. And then came the internet. Memes exploded instantly, spreading faster than her anger ever could. By the time her fury finished, the online world was already having the time of its life.
Since they can't air the truth, they control the storyline, and they've lost control of it. From bloodbath to democracy. Last night, Hillary tried framing the election like this. Both guys are old, but you can't vote for the one we indicted.
What do you say to voters who are upset that those are the two choices?
Get over yourself. Those are the two choices. One is old and effective and compassionate, has a heart, and really cares about people. And one is old and has been charged with 91.
At one moment, Hillary was firing off biting rebuttals. Minutes later, social media was portraying her as everything from a raging volcano to a nuclear mushroom cloud or even a glitching robot melting down on a green screen. Twitter crowned her Mount Hillary. TikTok stitched Tyrus's jabs alongside clips of her grinning like a cat that had just swallowed a bald eagle. Suddenly, even people who normally tuned politics out were glued to the spectacle of one of the era's most powerful figures crumbling in real time. It was the kind of content people binge watch for pure chaos. Hashtags exploded across the globe. Newscasters tried to keep straight faces. Tyrus had clearly struck a nerve, and her meltdown grew louder with every effort to muffle it. It was like watching someone try to douse a grease fire with gasoline. From there, the fallout snowballed. Late-night hosts had fresh punchlines for weeks. Political analysts spun wild theories about what Tyrus might really know, some swearing he had uncovered a missing chapter from the Clinton playbook. And of course, conspiracy circles ran with it, linking everything from Wall Street backers to, predictably, interdimensional...
She's back like a sore on a porn star's lip.
Ew.
Complaining on X about Trump cleaning up D.C., she says, quote, on one hand, Republican officials call themselves war fighters. On the other, they become whiny crybabies at the thought of setting foot in D.C.'s streets and New York City subways that literal school children navigate every day without incident. Real macho stuff. Then she got off social media and returned to moving a dead body to a park.
Hillary's supporters tried to frame her outburst as righteous fury, the kind that erupts when you finally had enough of clowns cracking cheap jokes. But let's be real, rage that loud never comes across as strength. It looks more like insecurity dressed up for Halloween. The irony runs deep. Hillary's entire career has been built on surviving chaos scandals, probes, accusations, smear campaigns. Each time, like a Terminator in a pantsuit, she stood back up, dusted herself off, and pushed forward. And yet, it wasn't a rival politician or a global adversary that shook her. It was a TV personality with a flair for spectacle. The contrast was so stark, so absurd that even her most devoted backers had to admit this wasn't her finest hour. By then, Tyrus didn't need to lift another finger.
It's ironic. It's not just rich. It's actually pretty sad.
It's what happened to decorum?
Gone.
What happened to being the so-called leader in the room? He's being indicted, great. But let's not forget, you lost your election because of your, quote, crookedness. So let's not forget that. So yeah, she didn't get charges put on her, which probably should have, but she lost the election because of her underhand dealings. So let's remember.
Hillary's eruption was treated like watching the stock market nosedive in real time. Everybody had their eyes locked on it, not because they were craving a policy debate, but because they wanted spectacle. And Hillary delivered more spectacle than anyone expected. It's almost poetic. For decades, she tried to craft an image of unshakable strength, the iron figure who could endure any storm. But in that moment, the illusion cracked. Even overseas, leaders who normally roll their eyes at American scandals couldn't help but smirk. She wasn't running for office. She wasn't launching a new initiative. She wasn't even trying to dominate the news cycle. She was simply existing and still managed to spark one of the most talked about meltdowns in recent memory.
So happy about it. That was an opportunity for her. They're always talking about closing the division. That would have been an opportunity for her to be gracious and be supposedly the leader. But again, she just can't stay away from herself.
Maturity doesn't always come with age.
No, it really doesn't. And it's sad. And this currently with the given climate where everybody's after each other's throat, here's a chance for a leader to show a little bit of class necessary. You don't have to like President Trump. You could think he was guilty of sin or innocent of sin, but when you're put in that position, there was an opportunity for her to show what leaders are supposed to.
And just like that, Hillary is back at the center of the headlines thanks to Tyrus. Her face is splashed across every screen once more, as if the political gods decided she wasn't allowed a quiet exit, not while her reactions could still be mined for spectacle. And here's the cruel twist. Hillary wanted to be remembered as a trailblazer, a pioneer, a force who carved her place in history. Instead, she went viral for losing her composure after a commentator with the flair of a carnival ringmaster aired personal revelations. It's Shakespearean irony colliding with internet trolling. The longer you think about it, the more absurdly funny it becomes, because this wasn't just about Hillary erupting. It was a mirror reflecting the ridiculous theater of modern politics itself. In fact, this one meltdown told us more about America's political circus than any white paper ever could. The real question isn't whether Hillary can recover, it's whether she even wants to. After a performance like this, you don't simply shove the genie back in the bottle. Chaos either swallows you whole or you learn to embrace it. And if history has taught us anything, it's this: Hillary Clinton never fades away quietly.